Darren Pang joining us live as we listen to Connor McDavid and his thoughts on hockey missing that true best action, whether it's World Cup of Hockey, Olympics. Panger, what are your thoughts? I mean, did you watch the baseball game last night? Did it make you kind of yearn for the days of Canada versus USA or whatever it might be at the international level, at the highest level?
Yeah, I can see how Connor McDavid or Nathan MacKinnon or all the great players of the game are craving it. Just the other day, and I'm not sure which Twitter site it was, and I think it was something called Hockey Samurai, and they were sending out the 1987 Canada Cup. And I clicked on, and, you remember that like it was yesterday, 3-6-5 games, and maybe that kind of stokes the energy of some of these younger players when they see what Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky and Coffey and Ray Bourque, and I think Messier was on that same line. They just were looping this unbelievable sequence, and then you see the baseball and you see that it's Trout and it was a phenomenal ending to a great game with two great players. So yeah, why wouldn't they crave that? They want that. They want to be part of it. They want to be part of history, and I don't blame them one bit. So hopefully, everybody's recognizing what the great players want. When Connor McDavid steps out and says something, you're going to garner some ears along the way, the same way you did with all the other great players that have ever played the game.
Yeah, let me ask you about McDavid, because you got the good fortune of being on site to see the great Connor McDavid in action tonight. He's chasing a 150-point season, which is, a couple years ago, I don't know if we ever thought we would see a 150-point season again. There was years we tried to get guys. There was years we didn't get to 100 points for particular players. You can see the list here, 150-point players in a single season. It's a short list. Your buddy Steve Yzerman on there, the great Gretzky, Lemieux. Bernie Nichols was able to do it, probably with a little help along the way from Gretz. And then Phil Esposito, we had him on the show earlier this week. Do you think he can get there? And, where do you think he is? Do you think of the pantheon of all these great players and offensive players in the history of this game? Because he certainly seems like he's moved way up the list.
Well, let's go back to that list for a second, because I was just I hate to name drop because Robert De Niro told me never to do so.
I know. Obama told me the same.
I know. I was just having lunch with Kenny Holland, and we were in the lobby of the hotel here in Edmonton, and there was a group of hockey fans that were there, and Kenny kind of said, "This is why they scored so many goals in our time," because Kenny and I are such small goalies. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Gretzky, Lemieux, Yzerman, and Nichols, yeah, I was part of that whole that goal scoring charade that went on right there. But Kenny, yes, he can reach it. He's had 44 points since the All-Star break. Yeah. He's stronger than he's ever been. Had a good talk with Lou DeBrusque, who covers the Edmonton Oilers on a daily, nightly basis here in Edmonton. And he just talked about, how light he is, but how strong he is. There's an energy, there's an engine in there that can just keep on going. There's times in games where, even their head coach, Jay Woodcroft, was telling us today that they're managing the puck. There's times when Connor McDavid's had plenty of gas in the tank, and yet in order to do it the right way and make sure other guys are following him, that he dumped the puck in and put it into a good spot, go for a line change. So, there's not a game that I see that Connor McDavid is dragging his feet or dragging his shoulders around. Not a chance. So, yeah, do I think so? Absolutely. I think this is a strong team. By the time they got, Matthias Ekholm on that back end, they've strengthened up that part of the game. I think they take care of their own end very, very well. They're getting the saves. And so I think that he can pass that. And I think that's a welcome addition to the 150 point club. And I wasn't any part of it whatsoever. I love it.
Well, Panger, between two players on this team, they're going to be flirting with, 275 points between the two of them. But the bigger question for me, though, is with the goaltending they've got Skinner, they've got Campbell. Is that a good enough combo for a deep playoff run?
Yeah, I would say it is, for sure. They got to the conference finals last year when many people questioned whether or not Smitty was a guy that could carry them that far. They're nice. Listen, there's no denying that Jack Campbell has gone through some transition here. Listen, he's gone through a number of different goalie coaches throughout his career. He was sort of resurrected in L.A. with Billy Ranford. He's moved along. He had success in Toronto, different goalie coach. He's come here to Edmonton. There's just different theories all the way along. I think it's very difficult, especially for an older goaltender, to get into a new environment, to be with another goalie coach. It just takes some time. So I think that with his veteran leadership and the experience that he went through in Toronto in a playoff run, and the fact that Stuart Skinner is the guy, he's the guy. I mean, He makes things look relatively easy. They don't need that many great saves, I don't believe, but I do believe they just need the ones that aren't going to suck the momentum out of their hockey team. And even then, they're still a mature enough group right now where they're handling that type of adversity during the game. They don't just go run and hide anymore. I think they face it. They basically face it and they go forward. So no, I think this goaltending has enough to actually they can go all the way like any other team in the NHL, in my opinion, because this is a deep enough and explosive enough club.
Well, Panger, you see a lot of hockey covering the Blues and then doing your due with TNT, and you see it up close and personal. You're between the benches. I want to know what you make of the Pacific Division, because it's been a division, I think, that's been up for grabs all season long. Based on what you've seen in your job and up close, like, who do you think is the best team in the Pacific?
Well, I've been a big fan of Los Angeles and the way that they play and the way their structure is, and if they're a team that doesn't have the legs, they can neutral zone you apart basically, because they're systematic that way. I like the way they've played, and it wouldn't surprise me if they finish first in the Pacific and the Oilers play the Vegas Golden Knights, and what a first round matchup that would be. This to me, and I've talked about this enough times. I'll jump to the head. I love the Stars. I love the way that they play. But the Pacific is what it is right now. I mean, Vegas, LA, and Edmonton. Seattle, this is great what they're doing and how they're doing it. I don't think they pose the threat of those other three teams, quite frankly. But still, they deserve a lot of credit for getting to where they're at right now. So right now, it's Vegas they're defending really well. They're doing a lot of the little things that I've seen from a lot of championship teams. Their D are big. They got long sticks. They're stopping cycles. They're stopping plays. They're getting up the ice, and they've got a ton of confidence that way. And then there's LA that's very, very deep. They can defend. They can do a lot of things. And then there's Edmonton. So Edmonton with Ekholm now, I think changes the opinions of many, and it does change the opinion of me personally. And the same thing with having Nick Bjugstad. I think they're very, very loaded up front. They've got better depth players, better role players. And I think Kenny Holland's done a phenomenal job of adding to this club and giving them every opportunity to challenge for a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it's going to be some battle in the West this year in the playoffs, because it's wide open. There's so many teams that could probably get there.
That's rude. That's rude,
look at that.
Rude.
Look at that.
Oh, sorry, I was in Canada. I just had a double Tim Hortons, and I thought I'd throw the Timbits at you guys.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Hey, do they still roll up the rim or what? Is that still a thing? The roll up the rim or no?
No.
I only roll it up when I make a mistake, and then I spill it all over the place.
All right. Well, listen, before we let you go you can get back to those donuts, you're so tied to the St. Louis Blues. You've been doing their games for many years now. They had a big night last night. David Perron coming back with the Detroit Red Wings. He has been connected to the St. Louis Blues, part of that championship team there. That must have been a big night for David to get that kind of thunderous ovation by the Blues fans.
Unbelievable. I mean, the anticipation was that it was going to be special. I mean, he has returned before as a member of other clubs, but not like this. I mean, many fans did not expect him to leave as an unrestricted free agent. We're greatly disappointed when he did. And so the anticipation, last week, Oscar Sundqvist came back. It was a really great response, but this was different. I mean, this is, as David Perron showing his heart. I mean, he still, as he told me, he watches as many games as he can. He's disappointed that it's not going well. He's still, you know what, there's a part of him that still lives and breathes what the St. Louis Blues players do and how they treat the sweater. I think he and guys like, Shen and Alexander Steen and those kind of guys are guys that they wanted to leave that sweater better than they had it or when they first began. And so there's some disappointment. And I can feel it when I talk to David Perron about it. So anyway, he's a special guy in St. Louis Blues history. And it was great that that reception went as long as it went and went as passionate and emotional as it went. I don't know how he played the next shift, to be quite honest with you, because he was quite teared up.
Yeah, heart on his sleeve there for that.
Yep, that's right.
To say the very least. Before we let you go, Panger, we were joking around in the last segment. We were talking about this NHLPA player poll, and Montreal was voted, handily as the best ice in the NHL. So I want to know best and worst between the benches spot in the NHL from the man who would know best.
That is a fantastic question, Jackie. This beautiful $700 billion building here in Edmonton, which is magnificent, has got the broadcast position as high as you can possibly get it, and the between the bench position right on the bench of the Edmonton Oilers. So they could have probably done a better job of having a separate area. The Detroit Red Wings did everything right with Little Caesars. They put that gondola in the broadcast position's beautiful. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was on their bench, and I'm right on the Detroit Red Wings bench as well. So, so I would have to say, in saying all that, San Jose is another one that you're right on the bench. Dallas is another unique one where you're kind of not on the bench, but the goalie's right behind you and there's a door that sweeps open. You know, you got to be nimble on your feet. I like it personally. I think you're more engaged. You're there, but you still have to broadcast the game with your own voice and your own excitement. And sometimes it doesn't go, you know, that team's way. So you try to be respectful of your energy level. And you guys know me. It's hard to harness that energy level. So you might have to. You might have to ask the players that are beside me.
You can't be throwing out holy jumping.
Yeah, no holy jumping.
Teams scoring a goal.
And the guys on the bench are going to turn to you and be like, Panger, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, or if I say that guy just gave him the old 9 of hearts, thanks for coming. Oh, my goodness, you know, then they're like, oh, great.
I have no doubt that there could easily be some awkward moments for you and your job between the benches, but you do a fantastic job, and we look forward to seeing you tonight on TNT as the Oilers play host to the Outs. Have a good game, Panger.
I'm going to have a couple more double-doubles. It's an 8:50 local start, so I'm going to have to get some rest.